What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Haunted Beard. Thank you for joining me today. I want to talk about Christmas Bloody Christmas, the brand new slasher film, Shudder original that they just dropped, and I just gave it a watch. I want to give you my thoughts, so let's get into it. So Christmas Bloody Christmas tells the story of Tori, who is wanting to just spend her Christmas Eve getting drunk and partying, but unfortunately a robotic Santa Claus from a local toy store goes rogue and goes on a killing spree throughout the town, and she is in a battle for survival. And this movie for me is really kind of a tale of two halves. And it runs at about 85 minutes. It moves along at a pretty quick pace, but the first probably 35 minutes or so, I feel like it could have probably gotten to the point a little bit quicker. And the reason being is I was not really vibing with it through that first almost half of it. And we're introduced to our main character, Tori, and she works at like this kind of vintage record music shop, and she's talking with her coworker. They're talking about how they're going to spend their night. They end up going drinking, going back to her place, whatever. But in large part, the opening, pretty much half of it, is just them kind of chit-chatting, talking back and forth. And my main issue with the first half of the movie is largely just the dialogue between the characters. And Joe Begos, the director and writer, he has a pretty good way of kind of creating naturalistic dialogue to a degree. But the main issue that I had is it is so over the top in terms of its like crude, vulgar, and profanity that it's just kind of ridiculous. And I'm not one who gets all picky and uptight about that stuff, but it gets to a point to where it's so egregious, I just can't help but just kind of roll my eyes at it, and just kind of took me out of the movie. And if I could make a comparison, this is sort of like almost venturing into Rob Zombie Halloween territory. And so it just kind of lost me. It's just too much and way excessive and over the top. It's just kind of unrealistic to me anyways. We do get a kill in the first half of the movie, which I didn't really find all that impressive either. However, once you get to about that 40-minute mark, it really kind of shifts gears, and I started getting on board with it. Now, Christmas Bloody Christmas isn't really reinventing the wheel. This thing isn't, breaking any new ground or doing anything wildly different with sort of the typical slasher formula. However, there are a couple things that I think stand out here amongst a typical slasher movie, namely the visual presentation, which is pretty obvious even by just watching the trailer of this thing. I mean, this thing is just, I wrote down in my notes, this is a cyberpunk, neon-drenched, grindhouse slasher movie. And I mean, just the reds and the greens and the blues are like just oozing out of practically every frame of this entire movie. And so there definitely is a visual style to this that is unique and different, and I thought really quite well. It kind of suits this type of movie, and it fits it quite well. And so for the most part, I enjoyed it. Also, too, I thought the soundtrack here was pretty killer. There's just a lot of hard rock, metal, electric guitar music. He even mixes in some synth type music in there as well. And so the music here was on point, and I was digging it throughout really the entire movie. And I think the kills here are pretty solid as well. It goes for practical effects and gore, which I'm always a fan of. You do get some gnarly, bloody kills, and so if you're just here for sort of the carnage, I think you're going to be satisfied. And also, too, in terms of the practical effects, I think the design of the Santa is pretty cool. And I'll just say it gets a bit to kind of a Terminator type vibe in this movie. And so I thought the mechanics of it and the look of it and all that it was pretty cool, as it kind of gave us some Terminator type vibes, so I appreciated that as well. Look, like I said, this thing isn't breaking any new ground. You're going to have to kind of accept that you're going to get some of the typical sort of narrative tropes and cliches. Some characters make stupid decisions. Some cars won't start when they need to start. The police are idiots. Things like that. And so, if you can kind of handle that and you're just on board for some sweet visuals, some gnarly kills, and some pretty sweet music, I think you'll have a pretty good time with this. And so overall, I do think it is worth your time, and I would recommend it. I'm going to give this, we're going to go 6 out of 10 for Christmas Bloody Christmas. So those are my thoughts. Hit me up down below. Let me know what you guys thought of this. I would love to hear from you. And please, if you enjoy content like this is what I do on The Haunted Beard. It is all horror and thriller movie content coming at you. So please hit that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. And I'll see you next time on The Haunted Beard.